So my advice, because you're still very, very new to the game, is to stick to 2 to 3 champions. 3 champions would be the absolute max. I think 2 champions or even mainly 1 champion, but then having a backup in case they're pick or banned is a good idea. Because right now, your goal should be to at least get really good at 1 champion so that you don't have to constantly think about your champion mechanics while you play. And you can start using your mental energy at learning how to play the game in general. Because if you're focusing on, oh, what should I be building right now? Is this the best build for my champion? Oh, what do I do in this matchup? I've never played this matchup before. I'm not really sure how to play it. So if you're focusing on these types of things forever, as you play more and more champions, you're never actually going to focus on improving your decision making, your macro, and other aspects of the game, right?
Yeah, I would say that's primarily what I'm doing. I would say probably most of my matches are Seraphine and then Janna maybe.
Yeah. So on your Twitch channel right now, do you have a game that you would prefer for me to review? Do you want the Janna or Seraphine game first?
Yeah, so I did a Janna game. Let me see which.
Yeah, I'm seeing one from yesterday. It's a second clip. Or maybe... Yeah. Okay. I actually have more experience on Janna. So... Oh. Yeah, I have more experience on Janna, so I think it's better if I honestly do the Janna game with you. Obviously, I know quite a bit about Seraphine too, though. Alright, so... Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna share my screen. So you can also see what I'm seeing. Also, for the people who are watching on YouTube, shout out to your Twitch channel. If you guys are impressed by his Janna gameplay, you can go and watch him. No, that's fair. Okay, you actually have quite a bit of ping. Oh, never mind. The ping dropped immediately. Good. Okay, so one quick tip before we even start is the game starts in loading screen, right? From loading screen, you should already be kind of thinking about matchups, right? So the most important thing for you is to be thinking about your bot lane matchup or your dual lane matchup. So you're playing Ashe and Janna versus Draven and Seraphine. So do you at this point know what most ADCs and supports do?
Roughly, I would say.
Okay.
Sometimes, I know that Draven throws his axes and he tries to catch them.
Yeah.
But, what is Draven's ultimate?
Okay. Yeah, this is something that obviously comes with experience. It's not something that this can be taught. But you should definitely be focusing on learning at least what every support and ADC do, because that's what's gonna impact you the most throughout the game. But obviously, eventually, the ideal would be to at least know the basic abilities of every champion and the theme of every champion, right? So, for example, let's look at Janna's theme. Janna is really good at disengaging fights, right? So if the enemies do some kind of engage, you're really good at using your first ability and your ultimate to disengage the fight, and also using your second ability to speed up your team, and of course shield them with your third ability. So Draven's theme is more of go super aggressive in the early game. The way his passive works is every time he catches one of those axes that get thrown, he actually gets like a little point for his passive. And when he gets a kill, he cashes out that passive and he gets a bunch of gold, right? So Draven's goal is to snowball the game by getting as many kills as he can and cashing in his passive multiple times. Seraphine, I mean, you know Seraphine quite well, but Seraphine is obviously more of a mage while also an enchanter that has really, really long cooldowns on her spells. However, her spells are very, very strong, right? Her combo with her third ability and her ultimate and her first ability does insane damage, huge AoE, can root multiple people, can charm multiple people. And then her second ability is a great teamfight spell, right? Because you shield your entire team, you can heal your entire team with your empowered second ability. So Seraphine is more of an AoE teamfight based support. with super long range. So she actually, I don't think she does very well in lane with Draven. Draven usually wants an engage support that can set up early kills for him. So Ashe is more of a utility marksman, right? While she has good damage, her main focus is her ultimate, which is one of the best ultimates in the game, her arrow that stuns. And she also has constant slows on her second ability and on her passive, so all her attacks slow. So she's more of a utility ADC, and she pairs very nicely with Janna, because she doesn't have any mobility, right? So you can help her kite and so on. Now, the other thing that's important for you to know is the jungle matchup, because that's gonna decide if you should be worried of early ganks or if you should be setting up your own lane for ganks. So Kayn is one of the champions that doesn't really like ganking too much. He mostly ganks to get as many stacks as he can of his passive so he can get his form really fast. But for the most part, he doesn't love ganking. He's more of a farm jungler. So you're probably not going to be looking to get too many kills until Ashe gets her ultimate and she can kind of set up plays for Kayn, but even then it's going to be quite hard. Lilia, very similarly, is not very good at ganking in the early game. She needs her ultimate to really gank. So pretty much until level 5, not much is going to be happening jungle-wise unless they fight each other. Okay.
I did actually review this game this morning, so...
Okay. Okay. So another thing that I highly recommend is it's a habit, right? But it's better if you don't really level. Actually, like I usually say, don't level up your ability until you actually see which ability you might need. But with Janna, it's a fine idea because he has 2 stacks, right? And once you level it up, then you have to wait for the second stack. So Janna is actually the only champion where I will level up my ability right as the game starts. But usually it's a good habit to just wait. It's not a big deal, but it's a good habit that you can build that will help you later. In case there's some level 1 craziness and you need a different ability, right? You cut out a little bit, can you repeat?
So, like, if you're...
Oh, you're cutting out quite hard with your audio. Like I hear every other word. It was good before, but now it's gotten really bad. Okay, you're still slightly understandable, so I think it might be fine. It might be good to speak a little slower though, because some words get like lost. Okay. Okay, perfect. Now I can hear you. So your job in this matchup is pretty much don't feed Draven, play with your ADC, and wait until Ashe is level 5 before you can actually really do anything. But it depends on how aggressive they play. So ideally you want to be very... Can you see my cursor, by the way? I'm like making circles, like on the screen share on Discord. Okay, anyway, I can describe. So ideally, you want to be higher up in the laning phase. You want to be laning with your ADC, and you want to be right next to your ADC in terms of where you're positioning, right? So now ideally you should be further up around where these 2 minions are, the 2 caster minions, right? So you can kind of have presence in case, if Seraphine right now goes to attack the Ashe, you can be right there to attack the Seraphine, right? But right now if Seraphine attacks the Ashe, you're too far back and you can't really help. Yeah, so say she's attacking the Ashe, but you're too far away to help her, or to do damage to the Seraphine while she's focusing the Ashe. Exactly. So in terms of your positioning in lane, you should always be symmetrical with your ADC. Like you should be parallel to each other. When she moves up, you move up. When she moves back, you move back. And the goal is, I have actually a video on this I'm going to link you after, which I think will be very useful to you. The goal is to create a triangle, right? Let me go back and show you what I mean with a triangle. There's going to be many good opportunities in this game, I'm sure. Okay, so it's mostly Seraphine trading back here, so you don't see the triangle. But the whole point is to get a 2v1 versus one of the two opponents, and they're trying to do the same thing towards you. So when you stand very far back, they're able to get 2v1 on Ashe, right? And that's what we want to avoid. So right now, since Ashe is very far away, and both of these enemies are, like you're in range of both the enemies, they've created a triangle where they both can hit you, and Ashe is too far back to trade, right? So you definitely, in these types of situations... Oh, what's up? Did you say something? I think you got out. Yeah, right. You need to be pretty much parallel with your ADC in your positioning so that the trades become a lot easier. Okay. So here's another thing that I think will definitely help you. And this is, like, because you're still fairly new to the game, the most important thing for you right now is to start building good habits, right? That are going to help you in your long-term improvement. So what you can do in Wild Rift is you can drag your screen. So if you, I don't know if you do it later on this game, you just haven't done it yet, but you can kind of tap above your heal button, like next to your ward button, like on the empty space, and drag your screen so you can look further around you, right? So right now your vision is very limited to what your iPad can see, which definitely an advantage, by the way. And like, as you know, I also play on iPad because you can see more. But by unlocking your screen, you can see even more. So right now, when you use this plant, right, and you see Draven, Seraphine, and Kayn, what you should be doing is dragging your screen so you can actually see what they're doing, right? You can see what's happening. You can collect information. Like you said, you play Go, you play chess. The difference with those games is that you have full information all the time, and you have all the information from the board. In Wild Rift, you don't have full information because of Fog of War, so you need to constantly chase information so you can make right decisions, right? So it's super important to collect information, and the only way to do that is by moving your screen to see what's happening, so you can absorb more information. Like in chess right now, you're only looking at one part of the board. If you unlock your screen, you're going to be able to look at more parts of the board. So I don't know if you could have helped this Kayn in this type of situation, because you didn't collect the information, right? So that's... Go on.
Yeah, this like Kayn dies and then actually...
Yeah.
Like I'm on the wrong side, I sort of walk around the wall. And so I'm like, should I flash to go in?
Yeah, I mean, your goal right now is to kill the wards from what I'm seeing, while Ashe is busy fighting, right? And the thing is, you're also not really collecting the information, because again, after Kayn dies, I'm just going to go back so we can rewatch it. After Kayn dies, you should again be looking up to what Ashe is doing, so you can try and get on the same page as her, right? Obviously, she should not be fighting without you, like, both Kayn and Ashe are making big mistakes here. I'm not trying to rationalize their mistakes, but we're obviously only focusing on you right now, so what you could do better is collect this information so you can make a better decision. So I definitely recommend, and it's a habit that I've seen Master Grandmaster players not do, right? So it's not like it's not like this is something that everybody knows and you're the only one who doesn't do it. But it's very common that players don't unlock their screen to look around and absorb information, when it's one of the most important things that I can ever teach anyone. So definitely focus on collecting information. As you play and you get more experience, it's a good habit that will help you out in the long run. So in this particular situation, you're asking me if you should have flashed, right? The answer is definitely no. Because even if you flash forward, you're not going to be able to win this fight. It's too late once Ashe is already this low HP. The best thing you can do is heal her over the wall, give her movement speed, and hope she flashes away and lives. Which she does, and that's good. But she just walks back in for no reason and dies, which is unfortunate. The main issue so far is that you haven't really been close to your teammates, right? Even from the laning phase, like when the laning phase first started, you're staying too far back, and you're not really helping your Ashe with trades, right? The goal is, and I'll show you on, actually, maybe I should pull up the video right now. because I think it's important for what you're doing now. It is this. This is the video. So, what is up, YouTube? Oh, that is loud. Okay. I'm Royal, and so the main point of the whole video, it's like 4 minutes long. It's not too big. You can watch after. But the whole point is, let me go to a ranged, let me go to a different matchup. Here, range versus range, and it's also with Janna, so that's gonna be useful. So right now I'm playing Janna, right? And they're playing Ezreal and Karma. So they have super long range and they can focus down the Kai'Sa, and I can't do anything because the range is too long. But they're creating a triangle to trade, right? So right now, again, Kai'Sa backs off and now stepped up. I'm playing Janna in this game. So again, I'm in this triangle, like fake triangle, doesn't actually exist, where both Ezreal and Karma can focus me and Kai'Sa cannot help me, right? The ideal goal is for us to be in parallel so we can trade at the same time as the enemies can trade. Oh, jeez.
How about now? I'm trying to use my AirPods. Is that
yeah, now I hear you. You just got very loud all of a sudden, but I definitely hear you. Okay, perfect.
Okay, good. I'll use this then. All right, perfect.
Okay, that's a lot better. Thank you.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so do you understand the concept I'm talking about with like the parallels and trying to be next to your ADC?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, makes sense.
Okay. So what you're kind of attempting to do here is actually a very high level tactic. I'm not sure where you learned this.
I watch a lot of videos. I'm trying to hold the wave there. So
yeah.
Freeze it, but I don't think she does.
No, because she doesn't know, right? But I'm impressed that you knew how to do that. So, I mean, well done, right?
Right.
You didn't do it 100% properly because these two minions just kind of left. You had to walk up further. Obviously, you were afraid of Draven, but these two minions were kind of missed. But you still managed to freeze it, so congrats. Definitely helping your ADC there. But what you should also be looking to do is get a recall off, right? Because you have 1,000 unspent gold right now, and you're also on half HP. So if you come back to lane now, you're going to be in disadvantage in the 2v2, right? Ideally, and it doesn't always work out that way, but as a rule of thumb, you want to be basing when your ADC bases or when your ADC dies. Obviously, it's fine to hold the wave for them so they can get more farm. But then while they're farming this wave or slow pushing it or freezing it or whatever they want to do with it, that's your chance to recall and also get your HP back. I mean, it depends. It's very situational, but that's just the rule of thumb, right? Sometimes it's better not to. So it's not always the case.
Yeah.
So another little tip, when you play against Draven, you see how he like throws his axes, and then a little circle spawns right under it, right? Like this is the little circle.
That's where he's gonna be.
If he wants to catch his axe, this is where he's gonna be. Yeah, exactly. You get it. You can aim your abilities there, and either he gets the axe and gets hit by your ability, or he doesn't get the axe. So it becomes a win-win.
Right.
And most of the time, they're gonna go and catch the axe and get hit by your ability. Which honestly, if I was a Draven player, I would do the same because you need to keep your axes up. Okay. So, the most important power spikes in Wild Rift are level 2 and level 5. So level 2 is the most important power spike because you have double your abilities pretty much, right? Before you had one ability, now you have two whole abilities, right? So it makes a big difference. And then level 5 is a massive power spike because they get their ultimate abilities, right? So now they both have their ultimate abilities. The last thing you want to do when you're both level 4 and they're level 5 is walk up like this, right? Because by this low, now they can kind of chase you down. Obviously, Ashe is trying to trade back because you're getting hit, which is fine. But since they're both level 5 and you guys are level 4, if a long trade happens, you're just going to lose. And Seraphine actually gets a pretty good ultimate. She gets the Ashe, and they're able to get another kill. So when the enemies are level 5 and you're level 4, stay away. When you're level 5 and the enemies are level 4, that's when you want to look to fight.
Right.
So you have a decent base, because, oh, you actually go tier. I think tier is okay. I don't think it's too bad, to be honest.
Yeah, I think you had a video maybe where you're like this is the best Janna build or something.
Yeah, and it definitely
and
is.
I'm not totally.
It scales really, really well. The problem is that the early game has kind of suffered, so I'm still evaluating which is better, to be honest.
I used to just buy mage boots as like rush mage boots as first item, but then I was like, oh, but you could also do tier. I figure you want to buy tier early, right, so that you can start to max it, and then not buy boots.
Yeah, if you're gonna get tier, it has to be
if
first.
Or not, yeah.
If you're gonna get tier, it has to be first. No, I think it's okay, because then I don't go mage boots though. I go
Ionian.
Ionian, because you get all that mana from the tier, and then your goal is just get as much cooldown as possible and just spam your abilities the entire game. And you just give a lot of utility to your team with movement speed and so on. Even though in lower elo, unfortunately, it's not as effective because champions just don't really know what to do with that movement speed. Okay, this is very interesting. I'm not sure what your Kayn is doing in top lane. He was just helping you push the wave, I guess.
It's like I often see junglers sort of like come in and the lane's not set up for a gank, and so they'll either just like hang out there for a little while waiting for it, or sometimes they'll just go in.
With Kayn, it's fine.
It seems like a good idea.
Because Kayn's main goal in the early game is to just do damage to ranged champions so he can get his form. The way he gets his form is by doing damage. So he might just run into your lane to damage the enemy champions. But the enemy champions weren't there this time.
Okay. Got it.
Okay. So in these types of situations, where you're playing an enchanter, right? So for the most part, your ADC is gonna be the target, right? So they're targeting your ADC. You need to be ready to be as aggressive as possible and be using all your spells on the target enemy while also keeping your ADC alive, right? So now he's focusing Ashe. Your goal should be to protect Ashe while also doing as much damage as you can to Draven, right?
Okay.
So you just use your second ability and you shield it, but you're not auto-attacking. You're not using your first ability and you're not ulting, right? You need to be doing those things in these trades because you're not the one being focused, right? Okay. They're just ignoring you right now. You need to be protecting Ashe. So you did heal her at the end, which helped her survive, but you still didn't use your first ability. You didn't use your ulti, like you just didn't use your spells in this fight, right?
Got it. Got it.
Oh, now he's just staying. Okay. And again, in the situations where your ADC is this low HP, right? If he wants to stay for whatever reason, you need to be walking in front of them. Like, you have all the HP in the world to spare, right? You want them to focus you. You don't want them to focus Ashe. So you can definitely be higher up here. And if they are going for a dive, your ulti can save Ashe. Maybe they can do a failed dive, you know?
Right. Yeah. Right.
So your positioning, even though you are an enchanter... Oh, go on.
I didn't expect Ashe to turn around, actually.
Yeah, I mean, she has 1 HP. She definitely should not be doing what she's doing, right?
Right. Yeah, but it makes sense.
Yeah. But as an enchanter, while in theory your role is to stay behind the team, in reality you need to be standing parallel to your team pretty much always. And in these types of situations where you have the most HP, you need to be the one walking up.
Yep.
Yeah, so even here, like, you still have your first ability, right? You can be using it on the wave to slow down the wave. You can already be ulting just to heal Ashe if she wants to stay, because it seems like she wants to stay. So definitely don't be afraid to use your spells. The main benefit of you as an enchanter is that your spells just have a lot of utility, right?
Right.
Okay, so now you're actually roaming for Rift Herald and pinging Rift Herald, which I really, really like. This is actually... I just don't know if it works in this elo, because it's just too low of an elo for players to understand objectives very well. But Rift Herald should be a priority. Okay, and you actually do a little roam bot lane.
I try to, like, they're not coming, right? You know, so I'm like, I try to go over there, I ping them, and then people don't come. And so I think in this case, I was like, oh, maybe barren lane, so I wander over there.
Yeah. The problem with your macro as a support is that for the most part, you're very reliant on your damaged champions to follow up. And that is something that just doesn't really happen. So playing Enchanter in this elo will probably be the slowest role or class of champions that you can play to climb. However, if you play well, you're still gonna climb, right? It will probably take a little longer. So again, going back to collecting information and the habit of unlocking your camera, right now there's a fight happening bot, which you definitely should be joining. But if you unlocked your camera and moved your screen bot lane, you'd be able to see what spells are being used so you can make, again, more informative decisions, right?
Oh, so you'd see if they use their first ability or their ultimate or something.
Exactly. Maybe they flashed, you know? Maybe your Volibear is super low HP and you need to flash shield him, right? You don't really know what the situation is. I can't tell you because I can't see it either, but you definitely need to be collecting this information so you can make the better decision.
Got it.
So this would be one of those moments. Now as you use your first ability, the game automatically kind of pans down. But you want to be unlocking your screen so you can see those things earlier. Okay, very well played. You kind of stole the kill, but that's still very well played.
Yeah, I felt a little bad about that.
That's okay. Stealing kills is not a big deal, don't worry about it. Okay. Okay. So now this is probably going to be the hardest thing for you to get used to because you've never played a MOBA game before. But positioning is probably the hardest mechanic in this game because you need, first of all, a lot of game knowledge to know where to position and also physically move your champion to that spot, which is actually harder than it seems. So in this...
I feel like that's one of my biggest problems for sure. I feel like I'm in the wrong place or I'm on the wrong side of the wall.
It's something that's going to come with experience. I can't like just give you a quick fix. But your main goal in positioning should be, I need to be close enough to be effective, but far enough so I can survive. And that needs an insane amount of game knowledge because first of all, you need to understand what the enemy champions do, right? So you can know how far away you need to be so you don't die. What spells you need to dodge, right? So versus Draven and Seraphine, the main spells you need to dodge are the Seraphine third ability and her ultimate, because those are the CC setup spells, right?
Yep.
So your jungler is kind of going in on a bad play here. So I honestly, in this type of situation, I would just leave. But if you are gonna stay, you can't really sit right next to the wall like this because it's very likely you're gonna get hit by Seraphine abilities, right? And you get hit by the ultimate here and you die with them. So what you should have done, or where you should have positioned, is a little higher up. So you should be around where Kayn is right now, right?
Got it.
Or like a little behind him. And as he's going in, you can use your second ability on both of them and shield Kayn, and maybe even ult them away. And in your brain, you should constantly be thinking, Seraphine's gonna use her ulti or her third ability, I need to be ready to dodge it. Dodging a spell is more about anticipating it than actually just seeing it and reacting to it. Because if you're anticipating it, it's a lot easier to react to it, right?
Right.
So you need to be anticipating...
And I know that I love it. I know that I love it when all the enemies just like stand in a line and I can hit them.
With Seraphine especially because...
ability, so.
Exactly, you know what Seraphine does, right? So you, like maybe you're not anticipating other champions because you're not used to them, but with Seraphine at least you should know. So right now, Seraphine would love a nice ultimate hitting both of you, right? And that's exactly what she does.
Right.
If you're anticipating in your head, you could have walked upwards and completely dodged it, right?
Yes.
And even if Kayn died here, which you would, you'd be able to walk out and live.
Yeah.
Oh. Let me see what you build, actually. Okay, so you're going for Harmonic, right?
Yeah, I think I built here, and then I finished Harmonic before finishing the staff.
Oh, you actually go staff. I usually go the tank support, the tank tier item when I play Janna. But I think both are probably fine, to be honest. It just allows you to be a lot tankier, and you can walk up and be more aggressive.
Okay, I can try that.
Okay, this is pretty well played. I would even encourage you to play more aggressive here, but that was well played. So right here, once your first ability hits and she's actually just standing still, you can even just walk up, use your second ability, right? You're kind of walking back for no reason, right?
Yes, yes.
It's a little step, but it does make a difference. So right here, she's half HP, right? And your 2 champions on full HP, right? You should be looking to be a lot more aggressive.
Got it.
Swain does a good job at grabbing her and pulling her with his third ability. And you do a nice job following up on his aggression. But what I'm realizing is that you're less willing to be aggressive by yourself, and you only follow up when your teammates are aggressive.
Yeah, I think that's true. I'm always worried about getting deleted, one shot.
Which I think is fair, but especially when you're first starting out, I recommend being more aggressive than passive. In the sense of, you'll never know if you're not aggressive, right? You're never going to know what would happen in that situation. You haven't tested your limits yet. So especially when you first start out, I recommend playing more aggressive than passive and just learning from those mistakes. Even if it might hold you off a little bit in the short run, it will teach you a lot faster. So if you're serious about getting better and improving, this would be a way to accelerate that.
I like it.
So another point, and this comes to map awareness, right? And this is something that it's gonna take a while for you to get good at map awareness, especially if you haven't played. Have you played other games that have like maps? Like Age of Empires, StarCraft, I don't know. RTSs?
Yeah, I a long time ago. A long time ago, yeah.
So in this...
I try to remember to look at the mini-map, at least, to kind of know...
Yeah.
I watched something about tempo lines, I guess, to sort of know that this guy, Coach Rogue, who's more of a PC League
I think I know him.
YouTuber, puts up. And so I really like his videos. I'm trying to position relative on the map, or like know where people are. But sometimes I do tunnel vision on the main screen. Yeah.
So pretty much every half a second, every 1 second, you need to be doing like a quick glance at the map. That's the habit that you need to form. And then you slowly need to start thinking about, what information am I absorbing by looking at the map, right? Because if you're just looking at it and not knowing why you're looking at it, it's pointless. So in this situation, while you're fighting mid, Seraphine actually walks through this ward entirely, right? And your team doesn't see it either because their map awareness is not great either. But in this situation, where Kane is behind her and you and Swain are in front of her, right, on the map, this is a perfect situation where you can close in on her and she's 100% dead because she's playing Seraphine. However, Kane doesn't see her, Swain doesn't see her, and you don't see her. So she just kind of walks to the bush, right? She just walks right through. Right. And you only see her when she enters your screen, right?
Yeah.
And it's not that big of a deal in this type of situation, but as you get, especially in the higher elos, where Kane is going to react, Swain is going to react because they notice her in the map, you need to also be ready to react, right?
Yep.
So, again, this is like a long-term habit where you need to be just glancing at the map, trying to absorb information. At this point, just try to actively while you play, and this is also why I say that it's important to master one champion, so you can think about things like this, right? It's going to be super hard if you're thinking about how to use your spells to also be thinking about looking at the minimap every few seconds, right?
Right.
Okay, the enemies are probably going to be going to Dragon, and you guys are not really in a position to contest. And so, I think this would be a good time to talk to you a bit about warding and vision. So, as support, one of your biggest roles, I guess, would be to set up the vision for the objectives. So most of the time as support, you would actually run sweeper, not a yellow ward, or you could run pink ward, like the control ward. Because your job is less so to put down vision and more so to control an area of vision. So it'd be super useful if you had Sweeper right before an objective to just sweep the area and clear out the enemy vision, or to set your own control ward so you can kind of control that area. I think yellow wards are fine if you guys are behind and you can't really contest. So in this type of situation where you guys are behind, it's not the end of the world. But as a habit, I think it's better if you get used to control and Sweeper as your trinket.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, I do tend to try to place vision around objectives.
Yeah.
But I don't, and you know, I'll use the whatever the thing that's the Scryer's Bloom to find and clear.
Yeah, I'd call it I'd call it Sweeper.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean the vision plant?
Yes.
Oh yeah. Pretty much it's a team's job to do vision, right? It's not just your job. Like everyone has the same amount of trinkets. However, as support, because you're kind of free, you're not forced to farm minions or farm jungle camps. You have more free time. It kind of falls on you to control the area, right? So think less of it of, oh, I'm just giving vision. I'm controlling an area of the map. That's how you should think about it. And if the enemies were controlling an area, you sweeping those wards and getting rid of their vision gets rid of their control, and you can put down your own control. Because one of the easiest ways to win games in Wild Rift is the enemies walking into you with no vision. It's like a guaranteed win in a team fight. So your Volibear is actually winning in the side lane, which is really good. But you guys definitely cannot be...
Yes.
Did you just steal his blue buff? Oh my god.
I did steal his blue buff, but I felt really bad about it.
That's really funny. Oh, that was a perfect last hit. I don't believe that was an accident. Yeah, so in these types of situations, your jungler can do a Hail Mary and try and steal the dragon, but it's unlikely. Again, like we talked about collecting information, right now you should be moving your camera to look at what they're doing, right? How much HP does the dragon have? What spells are they using on it? How are they positioning? Where is the ADC? Where is the jungler? So you can kind of approach the team fight based on that information. And again, you might not fully know how to use that information yet. However, if you get to the habit of collecting the information now, when you get to higher elos, it's going to be a lot easier for you to make those decisions once you've improved at the game, right? But I've seen a lot of people who are actually good at decision making, but they don't know how to collect the information. So they're making their decisions blindly, right? Or without complete information that they could have. So at your stage, it's definitely important to start building those habits for later on. Okay, your jungler tries their best. He doesn't get it, unfortunate. And you didn't use any of your spells again. So when he's trying his best to steal it like this, you shouldn't be thinking, oh, we're gonna fight now, right? Your ADC is doing Raptors, your top lane or your Baron laner is bot lane. This is a 3v4 right now, right? Because there's 4 enemies and 3 of you guys. So you should not even be thinking that this is a fight. This is your jungler trying his best to steal, and you're trying to get out, right? So you definitely overstay, but he flashes for you, right? He's committed his flash. What you can do is use your first ability to slow him, use your second ability to speed yourself up, heal if you need to because it also speeds up, and you can get away. Or you can ult him away. Like, you have so many options. In a worst case situation, you can always flash away, right? But you just kind of freeze up and you don't really use any of your spells, so you just give him a free kill.
Right.
So you definitely need to be ready to use your spells. And this is like the second time, because in top lane too, I noticed that when you were laning, you didn't really use your spells during one of the fights. So when you're, especially when you're playing these types of champions, that their whole utility is their spells, right? You need to be spamming them. You need to be getting as much value from them as you can. And especially with Janna, because her cooldowns are pretty low. It's not like Seraphine, right? Where with Seraphine, you really need to make sure that you use your spells appropriately, because they have super long cooldowns. Janna is not like that. With Janna, you need to be spamming your abilities, especially when you have tier. Right? So even when running out of base, you should be spamming your second ability. Your shield is up, spam it.
Right.
And again, Ashe died and you didn't heal her or used your ulti on her. I'm pretty sure you've actually used ulti once this entire time, this entire game.
Right.
Like Wild Rift is one of those games, it's a fast mobile game, right? You need to be using your abilities all the time. You can't be holding on to them.
Okay.
So don't be afraid. It's better to waste an ability than to not use it when you need to. Right? Okay, now you finally use your ulti. Good. And see how good things are happening now that you're using your abilities? Good.
Yeah. Volley tries really hard to carry this game.
Yeah. This was a good fight. As an enchanter player as well, it's super important to figure out who in your team is actually good at the game and trying to play around them and help them, right? Like this game, your Ashe is pretty awful, right? But your Volibear is doing well. So what you could be doing is kind of try and support Volibear more than Ashe. Like, I'm not saying completely abandon your ADC, but if Volibear is finding an angle to go in, you should be using... I guess on Janna, your shield is kind of random. You don't choose who to use it on. But make sure that you're in range to use your second ability on him to speed him up, right? Use your ultimate to protect him when he's CC'd and so on. Okay, so this is something that you should definitely never do on Janna or support in general. Especially on Janna. Like on Lux it might be okay. On Seraphine it might be okay too. But on Janna you definitely don't want to be wasting your time clearing waves. It's taking resources away from your team, but it's also kind of wasting your time. So again, this is another point where you should be collecting information. You're moving to the cane right now, right? You see a fight in the minimap and you're moving to it. But you're not really seeing what's happening. You don't know what spell Kane has used. He's used his ultimate, right? I can see that because the green dot up here is missing. So he probably just used his ultimate, but you didn't really see the fight. Right now, Ashe hit the arrow, but I'm not even sure if you know that she hit the arrow. Because you haven't seen it, right? So drag your camera and look at the situation. So you can see what spells have been used. Okay. So, again, you're playing support, right? So you need to play with your team, even if your team makes bad calls sometimes. Right now, Ashe is running for the Zyra, right? But you're kind of backing away from her, right? Let's look at it again. You need to be playing with your team in these situations. If she goes in, you kind of have to go into, right? Sometimes you need to commit to the plays. You can't always be just sitting back, hoping that the right play works out. She trades 1-for-1, which is fine. And honestly, in this situation, if you went, it might have been bad too. But that's in hindsight, right? You want to be playing with your team as much as you can when you play champions like Janna. You never want to be by yourself like this. Because you're just not very useful in these types of situations.
Right.
Because, for example, here, if you weren't just sitting top lane and you went to mid lane, you could have helped the Swain escape, which I'm pretty sure you won't be able to do now because you're focused on clearing the wave. So when the enemies are collapsing on the Swain, you're not there to help him, right? You're not there to shield him, CC the enemies, knock them up, ult them away.
Right.
Like, Janna is one of the best champions at saving teammates.
Yes.
Okay. This was actually okay-ish, but again, you're positioning very, very far back. So, super important, and this is something I've mentioned, and I'll probably keep mentioning because it's really important. When you're playing Wild Rift in general, you need to constantly be thinking about the champions you're playing against and what are the key spells that they have, right? I mean, you know, Seraphine, her ulti is probably the most key spell, and her third ability, Root, like the double waves, right? So you always need to be thinking, Seraphine ulti, Seraphine ulti, Seraphine ulti, right? She's doing it. She's doing the Seraphine ulti. I need to walk up, right? So you're ready to dodge it. Obviously, it's not that big of a deal because you're super far back here, so it doesn't really matter that I hit you.
Yeah.
And in this situation, when you're ulting, right, your first instinct is to ult, but you guys are both full HP and no one's really around you. So it's kind of a wasted ult. And then you're walking back. But this is a good fight for you, right? Like if you... And as you get better, you're going to start realizing when it's a good fight and when it's not. But this is a good arrow. And this is good follow-up from Volibear, right? This fight, you guys are the aggressors. You need to be going in, right? So when you're ulting and then kind of running back, you're not really helping your team. If you're further up here, you can shield Volibear and give him, I don't know if you know this, but your shield actually gives attack damage, right? So you can give him more AD.
Yeah, I know that, yeah.
You can speed him up with your second ability so you can chase, you can CC the enemies, but you're kind of running back, right?
Right.
And then you kind of waste your flash because you were so far back that you're like, well, I'm not really contributing. I need to do something, so you just kind of flash for no reason.
Right.
And Volibear is kind of getting kited here by Draven, but he does kill him in the end. But obviously this could have gone a lot differently, right? They could have had more backup. Things could have been better. You weren't very useful this fight, right? You should have been further up, using your ability to support your team and so on.
Yep.
Okay, nice. I'm gonna skip forward on the things that don't really matter. Okay, so you're just... I'm actually interested in... Okay, so you're finishing your tier.
Yeah.
Okay, this Volibear is going ham.
Yeah.
Oh, your Ash is trolling, unfortunately. Okay, this was really good, by the way. I do want to point out when you do good things, too.
Yeah.
Like, they're going in on Ash, right? And you do 2 great first abilities to kind of slow them down and peel your Ash away. So that was well played. Also, feel free to go, like, when you're near your teammates, spam your second ability, right? You have tier, you have all the mana in the world. Spam your second ability and just give them movement speed so they get to places faster.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna skip forward now. Oh, fight is actually happening. Alright, that was interesting. So this whole time I've been telling you to like play more aggressive. Now you played way too aggressive.
Okay.
So far this is fine, right? You get hit by all of this and this isn't the end of the world. But here you need to be looking to protect yourself, right? You need to be ulting, you need to be healing, you need to be walking the other way. Like if you see your pointer, it's aiming towards like
Towards base.
northeast, yeah. You want to be pointing it the other way right now. You're kind of like walking into them for no reason, right? So while the start of this was fine, you guys are looking for a pick, right? This was fine. You can use your first ability here, actually. You can use it a little late. But this is all fine. But you need to be walking away, you need to be healing, you need to be ulting. Right? You just kind of go down without using those spells. So while it's important to be aggressive and using your spell support your team, you need to find the balance between not too aggressive so I can still survive and use my spells again and again, right? This was one of the situations where you're just too aggressive. And the fight actually goes pretty well still, even though you died. This was still a good fight. Volibear popped off. You got a dragon as well. Fortunately, your jungler is not really trying to get spells. So this is something that happens very often in low relo, and you're gonna see it more and more until you get to at least diamond, I would assume. But people just go mid and fight, and that's what mid game and late game kind of looks like in lower elo. Not much you can do about that as a single person, right? It's more of a team thing.
And it's better if you're support to just
it's better to be there.
Be there.
Yeah. Like what I would often say when I coach other people in the elo and they're playing like a carry, or like not an AD carry, but like a mid laner or a top laner or even a jungler, I tell them instead of doing this, just go split push and like get inhibitors for free because everyone's just gonna go mid. And if somebody comes to defend you, then you can roll mid and win the 4v5, right? But when you're playing support, you obviously cannot do that. You need to be with your team.
Right.
So again, in these fights, right? So this is a little trickier because it's during a fight, right? Ideally, you would be moving your camera again a little bit just so you can see the full picture. This is a little harder to do because it's during a fight, but it would help you in this type of situation. Do you see how hard it is to see Seraphine ulting right here? And you get hit by it too. right? But if you had your screen higher up and you were looking at the enemy team completely, you'd be able to see when they're casting those key spells, like the Seraphine ulti right here, and you could dodge it.
Yes.
But again, your positioning in this fight is still really good. Yeah, again, you want to be using your shield pretty much immediately as it comes up in these fights, and your second ability. Like, on Janna, because of, like, look how long, like, your shield is, like, 6 seconds, 6 seconds and a bit. Your second ability is, let's see. It's 4 seconds, right? You can be spamming it, right? You have used it one more time in this fight. So on Janna, just spam your second and third ability. Even your first ability, you should just be spamming them throughout the fight.
Got it.
Okay. So you're basing here to, I guess, help Ashe defend this turret, which I guess it's fine. Most of the time, you probably don't want to be the one basing, but this is fine since Ashe cannot defend by herself, really. Ideally, Swain would base for this, but... And Ashe actually just dies. Oh, well.
Interesting. All right. So, yeah. So I would prefer not to base. That does happen a lot.
So,
where, you see people split pushing and you ping people and no one's going.
Yeah, ideally in this situation, Swain should be the one basing because he has the best wave clear. He's the best, like Volibear would be ideal, but you want Volibear to push with you, right? Ashe is your ADC, so you definitely want her to push with you. And you as the support will be best at, like, giving AD to your team so they can push faster. Using your second ability, speed them up so they can push faster. Ideally, you guys should be going Baron now, but obviously your team doesn't know that. And this is something that you can start doing because you're in an elo where people are good enough to understand calls. But in this type of situation, at least, this is a free Baron, right? You guys got 4-4-0 and Baron's up. So you need to be ferociously pinging your team right now. Spam pinging Baron, running to it, typing in the chat, whatever it takes to get them to go Baron. Sometimes they might still not go, by the way. Like, I can't guarantee that they're gonna go. But...
Yeah, I think we don't, and I think they get Baron and end.
Yeah. I mean, like, you guys just won the game, by the way. You came back. This is it. You get Baron, you win the game. You're gonna get Baron, you're gonna get Elder when it spawns. Like, the game is in the palm of your hands. But instead, no one goes Baron. Your jungler goes topside. 2 people push mid, 2 people base. Like, even if you lose this inhibitor, it's definitely worth it for Baron. Even though it shouldn't be lost, because Swain should base for it. So, like, in super high elo, the normal thing would be Swain goes base, everyone else goes Baron. Right?
Right.
Obviously, this isn't something that you can fully control. The only thing you can really do is ping. Right?
Yes.
Also, another thing, which might be a little too advanced, but I'm going to mention it anyway. Because you seem to like these advanced concepts. So once you know what every champion does, you know what Urgot ult does. Do you know what it does right now?
Yeah, Urgot, well, I don't know exactly, but I know it's very long range. And
he throws this like
seconds in it.
Yeah, he throws a super long skill shot, and if you're below a certain threshold of HP, he can pull you in and you just die. So right now you're full HP and Ashe is very low. So what you can do is actually stand in front of Ashe and block the ulti.
You can intercept it.
Exactly. So right now he's about to throw it.
Sometimes with like Jin ulti or something.
Exactly. Caitlyn ulti, Jin ulti, Akshan ulti. Those are all said like you can kind of prepare yourself for it because they have like a wind up, right? Urgot doesn't, so you need to be like thinking about it. You need to be preemptively thinking, oh my god, Urgot's gonna ult right here, right? So I need to put myself in front. So when he's doing this animation, if you were in front of Ashe here, it would hit you, and you're not low HP, so he wouldn't be able to pull you in, right? He can only pull you in when you're really low HP. And you would have actually won this fight if you blocked.
Right.
It's more of an advanced concept, and it's got like you need to first be very familiar with every ability before doing it. Yeah. However, as a support player, it's a skill that's gonna be super valuable if you are able to master it, right?
Yeah.
I'll go. Okay, so you guys are just going mid and doing another fight, which I respect. And that's why Seraphine is so good in this elo too, by the way, because she just keeps getting these like massive ultimates because everybody just goes in a straight line and just attacks.
Exactly.
And again, you're kind of getting hit by every Seraphine ult, by the way. Like, right here, you should be 100% anticipating a Seraphine ult. So be more spread out. Walk a little bit higher up, you know?
Yeah.
You don't need to, like... You don't need to be... Well, you need to be near your team. You don't need to be right on top of them or right behind them. You can be to the side. To avoid this AoE.
Makes sense.
Your ult here was really good. So your first ability usage is not very good because you actually aimed it. In these types of situations, unless you have in mind something specific you want to do, I would recommend just auto-aiming your abilities. Like, I'm playing in like Master Plus and I auto-aim my abilities. Like, it's not a bad thing, right? Like, now you're kind of aiming your first ability here, but for some reason then you change your target and you aim it up here, right? And it just kind of does nothing. So feel free to auto-aim your abilities in these team fights until you've gotten like advanced to the point where you know that you will aim it a lot better than the auto-aim, you know?
Yeah.
I'm surprised you guys don't win this game, because you told me you lost, right? If I was looking at this game without the information, I would assume you guys definitely won. This Volibear is unkillable.
I'm pretty sure this is the one that we...
Okay, he actually entered. So, in this type of situation, yes, Volibear is 100% inting. He's like trolling by running into them, but you need to be ready to support him, even when he makes these types of decisions, right? So he's running in, he's tanking the turret, you don't need to worry, right? So he's running in right now, you need to be right behind him right now, healing, speeding him up, using your first ability, helping him in any way possible, because he's your carry right now, he's the one winning this game for your team pretty much. But he unfortunately just trolls, I don't know why he did that. Again, you need to be spamming your second ability for the movement speed. Has a 4-second cooldown. This is the whole point of getting tier, by the way. So you can spam that second ability over and over and over and over again. You need to be spamming your third ability every time your harmonic echo is up, so you can heal your team. And just generally spam your second ability for movement speed. That's the whole point of going tier, right? So you're unlimited mana.
Yeah. Yes.
Otherwise, like, if you're not going to do that, then don't go tier. It's not the ideal build. But if you're going to go tier, you definitely need to be spamming your abilities as much as possible. And again, this is something that we want to avoid when you're playing support. You don't want to be going to waves by yourself. I know it might be tempting because your team doesn't really know what they're doing with minions. I know it would be a good opportunity to push this. It doesn't matter what's happening. As Janna especially, you don't want to be solo pushing waves. You want to be maximizing the time that you're with your team. Like, if you need a bit of gold for an item, then maybe we can make an exception. Also, don't go death cap on Janna.
Okay.
Go either Staff of the Flowing Water when you have champions that rely on ability usage and want magic damage, right? If they want ability haste and AP, go Staff of the Flowing Water, which is preferred for you as well because you also gain the bonuses, and you obviously prefer AP